Okay, let's look over our answer from yesterday first. So the question was, George weeded a fifth of his garden and Summer weeded some too. When they were finished, 2/3 of the garden still needed to be weeded. What fraction of the garden did Summer weed? So we set this up yesterday. We said 1/5 was weeded by George, some amount was weeded by Summer, and then there was 2/3 that was still not weeded. And all of this, if I took what George weeded plus whatever Summer weeded, and what's left over, the 2/3, that should equal the whole garden. So it's a little bit difficult to try and figure out what that question mark would be here, thinking of it as an addition problem. But I could flip this around. Let's say I have the whole garden. I'm going to subtract what George weeded and subtract what was not weeded, and that should tell me that missing piece. So if I subtract what George weeded, what was not weeded, that should tell me what Summer weeded. So I'm going to solve for this. And my first step, I'm going to do one of these at a time. So 1 minus 1/5. I can solve that without really doing any work. I can do that in my head. Because 1 whole, minus 1/5, I would have 4/5 left over. And actually, that reminds me of one of our fluency activities from, I think it was yesterday, or I guess it would be the lesson 7 fluency, or lesson 6, one of those. So 1 minus 1/5 is 4/5. Now I still need to subtract 2/3. This part I don't know off the top of my head. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to draw out our rectangles that we've been doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have 4/5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we need to take away 2/3. Well, that's not very even, but let's pretend. So here's 1/3, 2/3. Okay, I can't just take away 2 pieces because they're not the same size. So let's make them the same size. 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical lines, 2 horizontal. There, now it looks the same. I have 3, 6, 9, 12 15ths, and I need to take away 5, 10 15ths. So remember, this is what I have. This is what I have to take away. Take away 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what's left? 2 15ths. That is going to be how much Summer weeded. So I could say Summer weeded 2 15ths of the garden. There we go. Okay, this is the tricky part. Here is how, if this was mine and I was going to do a submission where I explain what to do or what I did and why I did it, here's what I could say. First, I subtracted 1 and 1/5 to figure out what was left to be weeded after George weeded. George weeded a 1/5. There was 4/5 that still had to be done. Then I subtracted 2/3 to figure out what wasn't weeded, or sorry, I subtracted what wasn't weeded to figure out what part Summer weeded. That was what I did. I only did 2 steps. I subtracted and I subtracted again. So I did 2 steps, and I'm explaining why I did each step. First, I subtracted 1/5 to figure out what was left after George weeded. That was step 1. Then I took that answer and subtracted what was not weeded to figure out how much Summer weeded. That's it. I don't need to explain. First, I took 12/15 minus 10/15, that equals 2/15. I don't need that kind of detail. Just what did you do? Why did you do it? All right, today's question. So your one question assignment today is question 2. Let's read it together. Jing spends 1/3 of her money on a pack of pens, half of her money on a pack of markers, and 1/8 of her money on a pack of pencils. What fraction of her money is left? So if you feel confident, feel free to start solving. But if you want a little bit of help, let's envision Jing's wallet. So this is her whole wallet. What do we know? Let's say her whole wallet, or all her money. Okay? We know that 1/3 was spent on pens. I'm going to do this. 1/3 was spent on pens. Half was spent on markers. 1/8 of it on pencils. And then there was some amount left. We don't know what the fraction would be. So here's what I do know. If I took 1/3 plus 1/2 plus 1/8 plus the mystery amount, that should equal 1. We have to figure out what this is. Kind of reminds me of what we had up here. We said George plus Summer plus the not weeded should equal 1. And how did we figure out how to solve that one? I turned it into a subtraction problem. Could you do the same thing here to figure out what the mystery number would be? Maybe. All right, give it a shot. Don't forget, you're going to submit your answer telling me what you did, why you did it. All right, make sure you do the explaining. I don't want to just know an answer. I want to know why you did what you did. All right, good job, everyone. See you tomorrow.